What do you make of this move?
This is a massive departure for Apple. This is actually the 6th senior vice president, which is Apple's top tier of executives, to leave the company since Tim Cook became CEO in 2011. So averaging about, give or take, a departure a year on that top tier of executives. She, since coming from BlackBerry in 2014, really transformed Apple retail into what she called the new meeting place over where people would typically meet, which was Starbucks. So she really put her fingerprints all over the stores. You see the new sliding glass design, like we've seen in the one in the flagship store in San Francisco in Union Square. She's remodeled dozens of stores across the world, taken retail stores into new markets like the United Arab Emirates and Mexico and Thailand. So she's definitely made an impact in those last 5 years. So a very, very significant departure for the iPhone maker today.
Angela Ahrendts made a big splash when she left Burberry to join Apple. Roger, look, it's no secret that Apple's in sort of an existential crisis as iPhone sales slow down, and there are questions about the next big thing. What is your sense on whether Apple can rise out of it?
So I want to put forward what may be an unusual point of view on this. But I don't think Apple's facing an existential crisis at all. I think that the iPhone was probably the single most successful product in the history of technology, maybe a history of anything. And eventually it was going to stop growing because you're going to run out of market. And I believe that Apple's next pivot, which is well underway, is this pivot to services. And obviously retail is a huge part of that. Having a place where you can go and get things serviced, having a place where you can go and learn about the features and services has proven to be an enormous advantage. And I'm with Mark on the issue that Ahrendts' work there was fantastic. What I would look at is the following. I just think Apple has focused for years on a growth bundle, focused on the App Store and iTunes. And now in a saturated market, they need to focus on the place where they have the greatest competitive advantage. And that would be in security and privacy, where the iPhone's advantage over all Android phones is so gigantic that, in my opinion, it more than makes up for the difference in price. And I think as people look at what's going on with Facebook, with Google, with all of the things that are in the smart device world, with Alexa and the like, you're going to see Apple pushing the privacy thing very successfully. And people will sit there and go, look, all else being equal, I would rather have a company looking out for my interests than not, and that would clearly be Apple.
Mark, tell us a little bit about Deirdre O'Brien and what you make of the fact that she's going to be running people and retail, which are two big jobs.
Yeah, Deirdre O'Brien is one of the most trusted executives of Tim Cook. She's been at Apple for now about 3 decades. And prior to becoming VP of People, which is their term for basically head of HR functions, she was one of the top operations and sales executives at Apple. So she was the one who was helping churn out products, at this rapid pace, getting them into distribution hubs, getting them into stores. And she's really the epitome of what Apple has pretty much done better than any other company at this point, is getting its products physically into the hands of consumers. So it makes sense for her to sort of go back into more of that operational role in terms of being a retail head. However, her position coming from operations is a departure from what Apple has tried before with retail chiefs, and that is all 3 of its previous retail heads coming from a retail company beforehand. Ron Johnson, he was at Target. After Apple, he was CEO of JCPenney. Angela Ahrendts, obviously from Burberry, and the person in between, John Browett, he was at one of the Best Buy, you can compare it to Best Buy in the United Kingdom, and still works in retail in Europe right now, I believe, for a women's clothing company, another fashion house. So this is something new for Apple, putting an operations person, a people person in charge of retail, and it's a new formula for them. People have complained about Apple's retail operations in the past, and this might do the trick. And she really is the epitome of what Apple's done best as a company. And there's plenty of things to criticize Apple for, but the stuff that they've done best, she's been in charge of, or at least a big part of.